Hey, everybody, welcome into Peggy and Dionne. It is our YouTube edition of the show. And Dionne, the schedule was released for the Bears.
Peggy, I was inexorbitantly excited about it. Like I couldn't wait to have to print it, to highlight games, to put them in my calendar. I'm very excited. It looks like a manageable schedule for our Bears. I feel like it's a nice runway for Caleb Williams and this offense to get going.
Are you kidding? Like, he doesn't have to face a division opponent until November.
Right.
That gives him a couple of months to kind of ease into it. Some really awesome quarterback matchups. I was like writing down all the quarterbacks that they are going to be facing. It's like all the young quarterbacks of the last 2 years. So there's some fun matchups, a good way for him to ease into it. And I'm super excited about this schedule.
Here's the one thing I will say. I was in the camp of 5 primetime games. I just thought that they would get the max, but I guess they're not the darlings of the NFL just quite yet, like we feel like they are in Chicago.
Right.
I think 3 is manageable, Peggy. Like 1 at the beginning, they have that 1 in the middle at that Monday nighter, and then they have 1 right after Christmas. I feel like that's also a nice, easy way to get into it. I don't know all of the determining factors into saying this is the 3rd easiest schedule in the league or whatever they want to call it. I think it's a nice mix for what we would like to see Caleb, the steps we want him to take, and for him to kind of gain his confidence before, as Jeff Joniak's already said on this airwaves, before the season begins in week 11 when they play their first division opponent.
Don't you think also that the NFL kind of learned their lesson? They got a little bit too into the Justin Fields hype last year, and the Bears were all over primetime last year. This year, they said, okay, hang on a second. We're going to give the Cowboys, the 49ers, and the Jets 6 primetime games. We're going to let the Bears ease into it. How many? We have like 9, 12 o'clock starts, 9 noon starts, 2 of the 3 o'clock, what do they call that? Prime viewing hour, whatever.
I love it.
I do too.
I love noon kicks. I love noon kickoffs. I love them so much. And I think that is, I agree with you that maybe the league is kind of like, let's wait and see on the Bears, right? Like the hype is real. I think they weren't the only ones who got caught up in the Justin Fields hype. We were in that camp too, despite them losing 10 in a row and then losing the first 4. We were all still like, well, it's exciting. It's going to be exciting. He's going to do it. He is him. Gosh, if I saw that again, I'd lose my mind. But it's just, I feel like that the league kind of wants to see what happens with a rookie quarterback. And let's face it, the Bears' track record is not good. So it's okay if they ease in. It's okay. I think it sets up nicely a winnable game against Tennessee with a new coach that they're just trying to figure themselves out. And then you go on the road, you get that primetime test right out of the gate in week 2, but then you still have time to adjust before things really heat up in the division.
Look at this. Will Levis week 1, CJ Stroud week 2, Anthony Richardson week 3. Okay, then you have Matthew Stafford. That's going to be like welcome to the NFL.
Yeah.
Bryce Young, Trevor Lawrence for the London game, Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, Drake May, Jordan Love. Like, oh my gosh, the matchups are fantastic. At first I looked at it, I thought, the beginning of the schedule, but then I realized no, this is really, really good for Caleb Williams.
It's good too for Shane Waldron and the offense to kind of get more familiar with themselves in that kind of an atmosphere. I dread sometimes that training camp's going to start earlier, but I think in this situation, it's a good thing to have. Not only you'll have that matchup with Houston in the Hall of Fame game, so you get some familiarity there and some sort of game planning ahead of time. And I think the way that we've understood Caleb to operate is that he seems like the type of guy who prints the schedule and thinks, all right, let me eye this up right away, right? And I think that that's going to be helpful for a new offensive coordinator as well, to have a quarterback who's already diving into who the opponents are going to be and kind of planning how he'll prepare for each one. I feel like that's who he is, that just based on what we know so far.
Can we talk about the video that the Bears did to release the video? I am so embarrassed because this is my era. It took me watching 2 times before I figured out that it was Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
You didn't know?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I thought it was more. It felt more Mean Girls than Ferris.
That's what my son said. I think it's Mean Girls. And then I said, no, there's something really familiar with the opening with the narrator. And the narrator, Jake Johnson, actor from Evanston, is on that Fox series, New Girls. And I was like, gosh, why can I not place this? Why can I not place it? And then in one of the school scenes, like even the opening scene, I think it was Lane Tech High School, but I was like, okay, this is really familiar. Is this just class of 2024? And then one of the lockers had a sticker, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And I was like, oh, that's what this is.
Got it. No, I did not know that. I'll be first to admit I wasn't paying. I thought it was Mean Girls. Like on Wednesday, we released the schedule. Like I thought that's what they were doing.
And the classic ending to Ferris Bueller's Day Off, at the very end of the movie, the credits are rolling and he comes on and he's like, what's Matthew? I always forget his
Broderick.
name. Matthew Broderick comes on and he's like, you're still here? You know it's over. So when DJ Moore does that at the end, I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. This is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And the whole scene coming into downtown, it was so cool. It was
him not feeling well, like all the things. I will say, I thought DJ did a good job. He was asked to carry a lot, I felt like.
Anthony Adams, great as always.
Always, yes.
I thought that, let's see. Okay, did you know who the Minnesota fan was?
Minnesota fan.
My kids had to tell me.
Who was it?
Young Gravy, the rapper.
I would not have known that.
I would not have known that.
Is that a surprise to anyone in this conversation? I would not have known that.
And then there was another female fan. I can't remember who she was. I'm forgetting. Anyways, she was one of the TikTok stars. She's like she does really funny videos on TikTok, and she rebrands companies' logos and stuff like that. I think I read that they used Round Lake High School for the interior scenes.
Okay.
And Lane Tech, I knew immediately. I'm like, that's got to be Lane Tech.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But did you notice who was not in the video?
Who was not in the video?
I mean, every player, it seemed like, every starter was in the video.
Yes, was in the video. Except
Keenan Allen.
He wasn't in the video.
I was like, could easily just be a schedule thing.
I would think I think it's just a schedule thing. Honestly, I would think it's just a schedule thing.
Or he knows he's one and done, so he's not going.
Peggy, you're not reading that much into the schedule release video. Listen, when the Bears announced they were going to London, who was the poster boy for that? Justin Fields. That has nothing to do with it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. The XFL fan in the classroom was comedian Diane Brooks. I didn't know who that was either, so I had to look him up. But did you see when the Bears put on social media the high school yearbook photos, and how in your yearbook you put your favorite quotes?
I missed it.
Okay, so right before the scheduled release, the Bears, if you go back on their social media, they posted like all these teasers that it was going to have something to do with high school.
Okay.
They used the high school pictures of Bears players.
Oh, they did. That's awesome.
And their actual favorite quotes.
Oh my word. That's incredible. I have to go back and look. I did not see it.
You have to. The very best is Tevin Jenkins. And Tevin Jenkins' picture, it's his high school yearbook photo. And his favorite quote is, "Don't follow your dreams. Follow me on Twitter at Tevin Jenkins."
That's awesome.
I just thought that that was so good. Dan Barilli from the Bears and the video team, like, well done. They did a great
really good job. You have to wonder how early they actually had the schedule.
Oh, right.
I mean, maybe now we've known the opponents for months, so maybe they just did it with the opponents. Then, because you saw on the graphics, they just put when they were playing in what week. So maybe that is how they did it.
Yeah. And so there is another cameo in the Bears video, and that is of the Packers fan. So Dionne, that Packers fan that was in the Bears video, gosh, she looks so familiar.
So familiar. I just couldn't place her with that awful sweatshirt on.
I know.
Yeah. Know who it is.
I know. Is it Annie Agar? Hi, Annie.
Hello.
Hi, Annie.
I was going to say you either saw me on that or America's Most Wanted. Either one.
Well, not this week, Annie. Not this week. I have to admit, like, I'm fangirling so bad right now. I saw you at the draft for a hot minute, and I can't even tell you how impressed I am with the work that you do. But we have to start with the Bears schedule release video. How did you get involved with that?
It's so funny because I have never been in a Packers schedule release video. So it's now a trend. We just have to keep doing it. So I'm based in Chicago. I live here in Chicago, and a good girlfriend of mine does content for the Cubs. And our good girlfriend group, they all work in sports. And so I have one girlfriend with the Cubs, and then the other friend works for the Bears, and then another one does the schedule release. So reached out to me. The first one I was in was last year and said, "Hey, we need a Lions fan. Can you play this Lions fan?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm from Detroit. I can do that. It's not my team, but I'll do it." And then this year she said, "I'm so excited to tell you we need a Packers fan. Will you be the Packers fan?"
That's
So I was like, "Absolutely. I will be there."
I was starting. So wait a second, Annie. Okay. First of all, you live in Chicago.
I live in Chicago. Isn't that terrible?
I
know.
You know, you just might become a Caleb Williams fan.
Take a lot. As much as I love Chicago, and let me tell you, I tell everybody it is the best. It's the Midwest nice with the whole big city. I love Chicago, but Caleb Williams is not a part of that love. At least not yet.
But are you from Grand Rapids originally?
I am. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So Grand Rapids is basically a suburb of Chicago.
Right.
Let's be honest here.
In the summer, everybody would come travel to Chicago. That was like our big move. Yep.
Yeah. How in the heck did you fall into the poison of being a Packer fan?
Poison.
Well, when you say it that way, geez. No, it's a really funny story. I tell this story to everybody, and I'm like, it's a true story. I'm not making this up. My brother's a huge Lions fan. The whole family are all Lions fans. And growing up, I had a best friend that lived across the street from me. She grew up with me. She had 6 brothers, and her family was from Wisconsin. And I remember one weekend, I vividly remember this. I was probably 7, 8 years old. We were friends when we were really young. And I came home one weekend. I looked at my dad, and I was like, her brothers don't cry on Sundays over there. And he goes, "Well, they're a Packers fans, so that makes sense." And I was like, "Well, I kind of like that." And then I told her that, and of course, her brothers were like, "Well, I'm gonna get her a cheese head, and we're gonna bring her in." And it made my brother mad, so it was a win-win situation. Yeah. That's how it started.
That is absolutely wild. And now for those who don't know, Annie does these incredible weekly recaps every week in the NFL. I really want to know, like, is acting in your blood? Was that part of your background? Is that how you can seamlessly do schedule release videos, but then also play every major character in the NFL at the same time?
Thank you. First of all, I appreciate it. Not really. I was in a play when I was like 12 years old, and I was like squirrel number 2. So it's not a big action part. That was my big break, guys.
Wait, did you just say squirrel number 2?
It was the Chronicles of Narnia, and I was a squirrel, and I had like 2 lines the entire play.
That
was, if you want to start somewhere, that was the break. It only went out there. So yeah, I didn't. Acting wasn't really a part of it, but I think the comedic side is so big in my family. My family is very dry sense of humor, and my dad and I roast everybody. That's our love language. I say, my mom goes through the love language. She's like, physical touch. I'm like, well, is the roasting on one? Because that's what my dad and I do all the time. And I think that was just a common theme with sports too, because it's just and especially for women, I think it's better, maybe not better, but it's easier to show, what you're talking about when there's like a little comedy, not throw in there if I throw a joke in there and roast their favorite player, then they're like, okay, well, A, that's offensive, and B, she knows what she's talking about. So it was just always a way that I talked with my family and friends, and I think that comes out a lot on TikTok. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Annie, so Dionne loves when I remind her that I did comedy in college on a dare, and it was like HBO was looking for campus comedians, and there is no video of this because there was no videotape back then. We were on like black and white film, and I love female comics so much. You brought up roasting. How much do you love Nikki Glazer, and how much she freaking rocked it on the Tom Brady roast?
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And you know what the cool thing about that was? All the comments on all of her, not even her socials, any social content that they put out of that roast was positive. And I don't think I've ever experienced a comedian that's gotten, men or women, that have gotten completely positive reactions. And her delivery is just, that's what I strive for. It was so good, so well written. And yeah, just 10 out of 10. It was great.
So I would like to know how you keep track of everything, because it feels like you watch everything that happens on a Thursday, Sunday, Monday. How do you do that to like write these things that you put out?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot more work than I think some people might think because you're just watching the games every day, right? Um and you're putting out content, but it's a lot of research because I could make any joke that I find funny being a Packers fan, but I want to make the jokes that reference, 20 years back, like a dumb move they made at the draft, or some inside joke that each fan base has. So it's a lot of researching kind of how the fans are reacting to a certain player game, and compiling my notes, and I'll take notes during the games, and stay on Twitter all the time to see what people are stay on social media to see what people are up to and kind of what they're saying about the games. And it's just a lot of research. And I put in so I watch all the games on Sunday. And Mondays, shoot the video, search for like 7 or 8 hours, and then shoot for about 3, and then the whole editing is a whole other process. But I really want to make, and it shows, I hope, when fans comment and they're like, that's exactly how I felt about this game or this player. I forgot that happened during the game. Those are when I feel like, okay, I've got it figured out, hopefully.
You did, the first time I saw one of your videos was a couple of years ago, and you did a Big Ten conference. Like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I was freaking on the floor. I was dying laughing. You caught
Thank you.
the whole aura of every Big Ten team's fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was laughing so hard. I'm like, who is this girl, and how in the world? I just love that people appreciate your sense of humor, because I think it's fantastic.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was that was the first one that I did. And I don't think I mean, I had no plan on that going viral or doing really well. I knew that's what me and my friends, we're all sports fans, were thinking about, was how teams were going to get the season up and running again. And I think it was good timing, I feel like, with a little comedic relief during COVID. And yeah, and it just took off from there. And I'm so thankful. That was wild.
Yeah, I'll be real, Annie. Like, my sister and I, we always wait to see how you react to stuff. Like, that's how much we really enjoy what you're doing. But being in Chicago, are you like bombarded by Bears fans being in Chicago, knowing you're a Packers fan and knowing what you do and being recognized around the city?
I will say, man, very nice. No, and I think it's because I'm not so biased that I don't roast the Packers, because I'm right there. If Joe Barry did something stupid last year, I was the first one to call him out. So I've been to a couple bars, and guys will come up and say, I really hate you, but I'll get you a drink or something like that. It's like it's this love-hate relationship we have. So yeah, they've been so great. And like I said, I love this city, and not the team so much, but the fans are great.
Awesome.
We used to kind of roast Aaron Rodgers. Dionne, what was his girlfriend's name? Blue.
Blue. No.
Oh,
I always want to say
I
Blue
forgot I
Ivy,
even dated her.
What was her name?
She was that
Blue of Earth.
Blue of Earth.
Wasn't she was like a witch or something?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
So we would do Blue of Earth phone calls every week when the Bears were playing the Packers, and we're like, imitating her. We were dying laughing. How did you not make fun of Aaron Rodgers on a weekly basis?